cameras have had very little effect on reducing crime in public space.
No, but some very significant crimes have been, the solution to them has been very much aided and abetted by having surveillance TV footage, no doubt. I mean, you know as well as I do, including terrorist crimes. For example, the attempted bombing of a nightclub in central London. A key piece of evidence was the license plate of the car that the suspect drove away in.
Post facto. I mean, it's certainly true that some investigations...
Well, we want to catch those sorts of criminals, goodness, don't we?
We'd like to stop them in advance if possible, and it doesn't look as though
but if we don't stop them in advance, we certainly want to catch them afterwards before they can do it again.
But we're missing the point here, which is that the CCTV cameras, like the DNA database, are part of a total package aimed at policing, monitoring, watching society. Now, I made the point earlier that all the relationships that we enter into...
You used the word, you didn't use it now, but I'm going to use it anyway, because you use it so much in your writing, spying. You call it spying, which of course introduces the image of the East Germany, the DDR in 1970, and a government which, again, is in a sense at war with its own people, utterly mistrustful of its own people. But we live in the UK, we're talking about Western democracies, whether it be Denmark or the United States or Canada. These aren't countries where this notion of spying is relevant, are they?
Well, you yourself used the correct word there, really, the mistrustfulness that government and its agencies has towards the population at large.
Does it?
If it feels
does it? Do you think it really does?
Well, as expressed by the fact that it feels the need to collate this kind of information and to conduct this kind of surveillance.
But of course it says it's not based on mistrust, it's based on desiring to secure, protect and enhance the lives of.
This is certainly what it says. And it's a very, very interesting fact.
But you don't believe anything they say.
No, of course I do. In that, of course
well, you don't believe that for a
I said earlier on that I think it's very natural for politicians to get themselves painted into the corner where they begin themselves to believe and therefore to act upon the view that their primary duty is security, forgetting that they have a very, very great duty to protect our liberties too. But we're rolling on a little fast here, if we may, because I want to go back to the point about the involuntary nature of our conscription into a surveillance state, a state so watched, so monitored, in which so much data is centrally collected. When I was talking about those voluntary relationships we enter into to get a passport or a driving license, I wanted to contrast that to the kind of situation where we are obliged to, all of us, have an individual number plate. No different in principle, if I may say, and I think this dramatizes the point, to having a number branded on your arm, so that you're uniquely, easily and quickly identifiable by the state as one of its conscripts.
Well, that's a heck of a leap, and indeed an image that you've invited everybody to take, which, let's face it, you're inviting us to think about the Nazis, the way they organised their society.
I do it advisedly, I do it on purpose. It's not a mere matter of rhetoric.
But people will be outraged by that, and maybe understandably so.
Because the point here is to alert people to the direction that we're moving in.
May I interrupt for a moment?
Certainly.
Forgive me, but we're running short of time. Are you not way too late with this sort of prescription of where society is going? Whether or not the state acquires the powers that you are discussing, the fact is we as individuals are being monitored in ways we cannot know about by the private sector. Whenever I use a search engine, and let's say Google because they're the dominant one, Google is compiling masses of information on my private likes and dislikes, which it can then sell on to others who find that information useful. Insurance companies share all sorts of private information. Credit agencies do. Why should we trust them or be happy that they do it when you're so worried about the state?
I don't think we should be happy about that.
But it's happening all the time.
It is happening all the time.
But we're still a relatively free society.
And I think that's another chapter of this discussion, that we have to look into that too.
Yeah, but the point is we're still a relatively free society, aren't we?
Yes.
And it's happening, and we live with it, and we muddle along, and you know, it's this desire for black and white, for simplicity. You know, freedom and individual liberty, good, must be always respected. All these sorts of things in a line. It isn't as simple as that.
Surely the point is that since we are still more or less a free society, this is precisely the moment that once you put one's foot on the brake and begin to be alert to these things and to raise questions about them. All these private agencies are certainly doing it, and it is a serious matter, and you're quite right to bring it up. That's something that we have to have an argument about as well. Governments doing it, however, are the much more immediate problem, I think, because these are agencies we ourselves put in place to serve us, to serve our interests.
And we can get rid of them.
And we can get rid of them.
The Americans got rid of George Bush. They decided Obama better represented their interests, looking to the future.
And do you know what?
That's the great beauty of democracy. Despite all of the threats you insist are out there, it still works.
But here is a very significant fact, that in the fortnight preceding this discussion you and I are having, the Justice Minister, Jack Straw, has said Some of those anti-terrorism laws now look as though they need repeal because they've gone too far. Jackie Smith, the Home Secretary, has said surveillance in our society has gone too far. And this, I think, is the result, may I say, of a campaign by Liberty, by the whole civil liberties movement.
It's you saying it's we what won it, when I would say, actually, what it shows is you exaggerated all along. Just as you accused the Bush-Blair access of exaggerating the threat of global terror, perhaps you exaggerated the threat to individual freedom and liberty.
I think by raising the issue stridently and robustly, what we've made our masters see in Whitehall is that they've gone too far. They themselves are saying that they've gone too far. Stella Rimington is saying they've gone too far. The man who looks after our freedom of information has gone too far. And they're all of them now, therefore, recommending, in the face of what has been a public outcry about this invasion of civil liberties, that we ought to ratchet back. Now,
well, no, I'm sorry, there can't be a now, or otherwise we'll go too far. But I want to thank you, A.C. Grayling, very much for being on Hard Talk.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.